loving father of his daughter, Morgan, his daughter-in-law, Morgan, this is gonna be good. His daughter-in-law, Brittany, his son, Tony, his sister in Florida, Cheryl, and his honorary brother-in-law over there in the plaid shirt. Okay, so unfortunately, he passed away on June 24th. We'll talk about that at the end. January, yes. Okay, because in June of 2014, he and I started playing pickleball. How many of us were in the 3-5 mixed group? Okay, if you remember, 3-5 mixed group. And we started playing pickleball. And I thought he was kind of cute. But, one never knows. And so we continued to play pickleball. And we continued to play pickleball. And I wasn't sure anything was going to develop as a romance, because we were just playing pickleball. But eventually, yes, it did. He entered us into a, what do you call it? A tournament. Yes, thank you. I'll get there eventually. And so it was Bud and me, Susan and Mel, and Mike and Patty Roberts. Okay, and we played, and I couldn't believe it. We won a silver medal. Now, I never win those things. That's not who I am. But that is who he is. And so I was so proud of that silver medal that the next day I had to give a talk at Great Decisions. And I wore it. But yes, I did this. So we did this, and we played pickleball for a long time. The first time he came over, again, this is part of Bud's personality, there was a concern about the water pressure in our houses back in 2014. So he would go around to all of our houses and check the water pressure. Okay, he gets to my house, we're sitting on the back patio, and my little dog, Susie, looks at him, goes into the house, picks up a toy, gives it to him. She goes back, picks up another toy, gives it to him. I think he had about 5 toys at that point. She had about 5 toys for him. So I knew she had picked him, and I had a good chance of making a good relationship with this guy. So we did that. We continued. He absolutely loved being part of our group. He loved playing pickleball games. He played 3-4 times a week. He loved hiking. He loved biking. And then we would also start traveling together. And he was in heaven. Because he never really, he was a good company guy. He didn't take long vacations. And here he is with a group of people that like to do things. So he was so happy. And so we started camping and other things. Eventually, we bought a travel trailer. Now, we bought a travel trailer because of this little dog, Susie. Okay, so she could go with us. But she loved it because then she could stay anywhere in the travel trailer and see him. I was kind of shocked at that point, but she could. So we did traveling, and we went traveling for weeks at a time. And we went traveling with the Schlotes. We went traveling with, Ray and Kathy. We went camping with lots of people, and he loved it. Now, when we went camping, I think some of you know this. He's a fashionista, okay? So he would get up in the morning and say, what are we doing, and what should my color scheme be for the day? Yeah, he did. It was great. Then, one of our couple's pickleball games, we were sitting in my back patio, and Leonore Kreutzer, who you may know from a long time ago, said that she and her husband, um, David, thank you. David, were planning a trip through OAT to Machu Picchu and the Galapagos. And, Bud's going, yeah. And I said, do you know where those are? No, but I'm going. And that became his mantra, I'm going. And yes, he did. He went and he had a great time. We're very different people. He was a jock, he was outgoing, he was very down to earth. I'm a little bit of a bookworm professor type, but he made me laugh. He showed me that we can do things outdoors that I'd never had a chance to do, and he had a particular skill. He could back into parking places, even with the travel trailer. And I was like, oh my God, look at what a winner I've got. So there we go. He was generous with his time. He was on the board of directors for Impact. He was delivering Thanksgiving baskets of food. And then for Jeff and Mark, he was one of the schleppers for the IJSS, the synagogue group. And so he had a truck. He would go and pick up the Torah scrolls, which are not light, pick up the lectern, pick up the other things, and help move it to where it needed to be on the high holy days. And he liked doing it. He was very disappointed when he had to stop. So along the way, so in that period, we did traveling. We did go to Peru and Machu Picchu, and he loved it. We went to Africa, we went to Costa Rica, we went to Southeast Asia, and we went to national parks where he could park the trailer well. But along the way, health things came in. He had a heart attack in April of 2018. And those of you who knew him, he did not pay attention to the rules very much. And so he had 3 stents put into his heart. And they went in through his groin. And those you have to lie still for a good 24-ish hours. No, not Bud. Not Bud. He would dismantle the alarm, get out of bed, wander around the room, and then lo and behold, the plug that was holding in the arterial blood pops open. Yeah, that was him. And he did this, he had a lot of hospital stays. And he did this with every hospital stay. First thing he would look, how do I dismantle the alarm so I can go where I want to go? Yeah. In 2019, he developed pneumonia, but it was actually valley fever. He got the fluconazole that we all get and recovered, we thought. But unfortunately, in April 2020, some strange symptoms arrived. At this point, he was really unstable and he was using a walker. And he would walk around in circles, okay? He would, his memory and dementia, the dementia started, memory was bad. You would ask him what month we were in, and he had no idea. He didn't know exactly what town he lived in. And I would take him to the hospitals, the ERs, and they just said maybe it's a sodium deficiency. But this was the time of COVID, so it was hard to get to see him. And his own primary care doctor, Dr. Mendoza, had COVID himself, so he wasn't seeing patients. So this was a problem. The other symptom he had is incredible urgency to pee. Okay, so it was like if I were standing in the way, I would be knocked over so he could get to the bathroom. I mean, it was incredible. So he went to Banner finally in June of 2020, and they did a lot of tests, and they diagnosed it as valley fever, normal pressure hydrocephalus. And with normal pressure hydrocephalus, you get a shunt to adjust how much fluid is running in your ventricles. And do you all remember the Bighorn fire?
Yes.
Okay. The night that fire was coming down, he was having his brain surgery. And I'm like, oh my God. He got through it well, and that's good. But he stayed in the hospital and the rehab hospital for a good 4 weeks. He comes home and he still needs a lot of help. But I took him back and forth to the ER so many times for falling, for confusion. Bud did not like to drink water or anything, maybe beer. But he didn't want to have a full bladder because he didn't want to have to pee. So what happens is you get dehydrated. When you get dehydrated, you get confused. And he is down in a spiral going down. And we go to the hospital again to get IV fluids. Now, this is the period where some of you might remember his delusions and his hallucinations. How many of you remember that he had multiple Sandys in his life? But he kept telling me, I'm not sleeping with Sandy Epstein. Okay. He had multiple Sandys, so he would get up in the morning, sit on the sofa, and then just sit there and say, who's gonna take me home now? Well, you're kind of home now. Well, I don't know, who took me here? He would pull out his phone, look at the photos, and say, but this is the Sandy I know, and he would show me pictures. And they were all of me. And I say, see, that's me. No, this is the other Sandy. This is me. And she'll come and get me. So I finally said, okay, let's go find out where she lives. So we took the golf cart. We rode around Saddlebrook for about an hour. And guess where we ended up? At my house. He said, this is where she lives. Yeah, but this is it. This is where we live. So the brain does such interesting things. He also had stories that Jim Schlote was going to come and pick him up in a helicopter. Yes. And I shouldn't worry, you're coming in the helicopter. What else did he do? This one I love. He would call his sister in Florida, his daughter in Washington, and say, I'm really sorry, I won't make it for dinner tonight. Okay, and I think he called a lot more people, so sorry if it was you. He was furious with me because I didn't know, who Buddy Klein was. Buddy Klein. Buddy Klein, it turns out, was his neighbor in Akron, Ohio. Okay? And you must know him. We went out with him a lot. So I took him outside and said, there is no house that's Buddy Klein. Okay? But he also called Buddy Klein and apologized for not being able to make dinner. And he continued to fall. In January of 2021, he broke his femur in the hospital for a month in rehab. And then in May of 2021, he fell while we were camping with Susan and Paul Fredrickson in Sholo. This was the serious one because it turned out he had twisted his spinal column, and the nerves to his legs and his arms were severely damaged. Now, he had this big ass truck, okay? I had never driven it in my life, okay? And we had to go from Sholo through Salt River Canyon to home. Now, Paul gave me driving lessons. I don't know if you remember, I think I even have a certificate of accomplishment. But I had driving lessons to drive this thing because he couldn't do it. He didn't have the mobility. And so I drove us home. So we did that. Now, much of the camping stopped. Our friends just, got out of it and stuff and started cruising. Cruising was much easier with him. Yeah, it's difficult getting him into the car, into the plane, out of the plane, but once he got on that cruise ship, he was fine, particularly with his scooter. He could get around like nobody. So from there we went to Australia, New Zealand, Norway and the British Isles, the Caribbean, and then finally in November, South America. At that point in South America, he fell badly. He bruised his ribs, and they were concerned that they were broken. So he got sent off to a hospital in Buenos Aires. And we couldn't continue the cruise because he had to fly home. He sat down with me and said, he can't keep traveling. He doesn't have the balance. He didn't have the stamina to do it. And it was nice to hear him say it instead of me. So that was December. And so he wasn't strong enough. A little bit backwards, in May 2022, he moved to Amber Lights, which is a assisted living facility. And it's because he kept falling, because he had some dementia issues, but it was also because I couldn't manage with him around. I was on high alert every time he moved, and my heart would go racing. And so I was so glad when he said yes that he would go, because then they would watch out for him. So this is, and then finally, on the night of January 23rd, Thursday night, he went to sleep, knowing that his guy friends were coming to meet him for breakfast. They were gonna drive down from Saddlebrook to Amber Lights and meeting him for breakfast. So I'm assuming he had a smile on his face. Unfortunately, he never woke up. But he died the way we all want to go. Peacefully, in his sleep, looking forward to an event in the future. So, just want to say thank you. But I really hope you will others will share. And then what we're going to do is share other stories. And then, when we're done, you might have gotten the Kaddish prayer on your chairs. Okay. I'll say this twice. For those, do not say Kaddish in the synagogue speed. Okay? We have a lot of people here who are doing the transliteration. So let's just do it a little slower so that we can do it possibly together. Okay. Are there anybody that can add some? I know, Ron, you wanted to?
First, let me wish Alan and my condolences, Sandy. Alan, I met Bud playing pickleball, probably 12 years, 13 years ago. And Bud wasn't the most communicative person. He didn't speak to too many people. And we finished playing, we sit down on the bench, and he's sitting there mulling the future. And I go, like this, man. Hey, buddy, what are you doing? I said, I want to say hello. hello, back his own way. I finally was able to grab him and get a couple words out of him and find out a little about that background and so forth. And we spoke for a period of time. And again, okay, I says, I'll see you play again. Doesn't say goodbye, just takes off. Okay. See him a couple more times, we continue playing, and then the group was all played. I don't know if some of you remember, it was a very cold day in December, it was about 28 degrees, and the women and the men were playing pickleball while we were playing at it in those days. And the women decided to leave and go to breakfast. And the guys played, and in about 20 minutes we broke a dozen balls. And we also took off that breakfast. The next time I saw Sandy and Bud, only I saw Sandy and Bud, was at Don Bergen's 75th birthday party. They came in like two kids in lust. Sandy, go where the bottle was.
All right.
That's a plus.
That was our first date.
I don't want to ask what happened. And they came in and they danced up a storm. And Ollie and I looked at one another and we said, okay, wish I could shake my neck, but my neck's fused, I can't. And we said, okay, that's a couple. And thereafter we started going out. And we met them the first time they called us at the Red Lobster for breakfast, for lunch. And the two of them called, we're a couple. And we came over and we had lunch with them. And we had a lunch, I don't know, 2-hour lunch. I don't know how many glasses of wine we had or how many bottles, because Bud and I and Ollie and Sandy were pretty good at it. And then we went over to see, who was at the hospital, Sandy?
Jim.
Jim was at the
Jimmy's in
hospital.
the back there.
Jim was in the hospital.
Yes.
And the four of us went over to see him. And that's when the friendship started. And the four of us were the first to go to the theater together, and we went to, you named it restaurants. We were the first one to eat a wild garlic, and all the other restaurants, which, you know, Bud was a sport. I said, Bud, want a bottle of wine? Whatever. I said, this bottle is $60. Okay. Okay, your share is $60, Bud. It didn't, never bothered him. He was really a good person. He was a mensch, as they say in Yiddish. A mensch is a good human being. And with that, I would say, may God rest your soul, his soul, and I will never forget you, my friend.
Are there any other stories? Oh, thank you.
Well, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Mark Schwartz, the black sheep. I met Bud when Sandy, you and he came to a JFG Hanukkah celebration. You sat at the same table, and so I was introduced to Bud. Bud looked a little bit out of place. He was a little uncertain about what was going on here. But I had a chance to talk to him, and very, very quickly realized that Bud was a very down-to-earth, very outgoing, warm person. I liked it. And in quite a number of the years after, Bud was there for the temple group. Sandy mentioned the Ark Schleppers, and we moved the furniture for the synagogue group from three of the homes, from my garage and from others, and took it to various places like HOA 2 or HOA 1 and set it up, and then after services took it down. So this was a lot of work, a lot of physical work. Bud was there always with the truck, with a smile, with a good word, there to help you. And this was the person that he was. This is the person you just had to like, because it wasn't a question of how long am I here or what are we doing. It's as long as it takes, I'm here as your partner. And Sandy, I know you will miss him. We will miss him. He was the epitome of a good person.
Yeah, he's not sleeping with.
No, it's true. During one of Sandy and our long conversations in the summer, which we had many, one time she said, "I think I have a new pickleball buddy." And so we couldn't wait to get back to Saddlebrook to meet this new pickleball buddy. And as soon as we met him, we liked him, and it felt like he'd always been part of our group and always been a member and, forever. But Bud and I did have one secret. And a couple of years ago, they were getting ready to go on a cruise for over Thanksgiving. And Bud decided that it would be a pretty good idea to have some surprises for Sandy along the way. And so Bud and I hatched a plan, and I went shopping, and then I brought all the stuff back to Bud, and I said, "Well, what do you think about this? What do you think about this?" And he, decided what would be the perfect items, and he took them on the cruise. I said, "Bud, now you have to remember to give her these things once you get on the cruise." And I think he did, maybe some of them.
I'm not
maybe.
sure.
Yeah, well, and it was a fun surprise to plan with Bud, and he was just all for it. And if you only got one of those things, I hope it was a good one.
What about the butt pushers?
Oh,
No? Okay.
well, I was sure somebody else would talk about the butt pushers, but I guess I could. So we were all on a camping trip. Well, not a camping trip, but we were on a trip at, fill in the blank.
Marble Canyon.
Marble. All of those places. And we decided to take a hike, and Kathy told us, if we go on this hike, we will reach the Colorado River, I think, is that right? Yep. And so we started hiking, and it was kind of a slot canyon. And we got down to the canyon really, really easily, but none of us could get our butts back up the canyon. And there was Bud, good old Bud. He pushed our butts up these hills, all of these old ladies. And we have laughed about that only about 452,000 times since that day. It was very, very funny. But Bud, our butt pusher.
I hadn't planned on saying anything, partly because I'm no good at this stuff. But just one, Bud and Susan, my wife, and I shared something. We were all from Northeast Ohio. We were from Cleveland. Bud was from Akron. Akron is about, I don't know, 35 miles south of Cleveland, something like that. And he was a corporate guy, worked for Frito-Lay, the addictive chips. And we traveled, you can see the photographs, but we traveled with Bud and Sandy and a number of other people who were here. But one thing I will mention, part of the trip that you saw up there, in Niagara Falls, and there was a Georgian Bay, they all came, Bud and Sandy and other folks, came up to visit us, Susan and me, in Sheboygan, Michigan, which is up at the top, northern, just below the Upper Peninsula. We had a sailboat. We've been sailing for 40 years. We kept a sailboat up in Sheboygan, Michigan, and Bud and Sandy and a number of other people came up to visit us. And so we went sailing. And Bud went sailing. Even Sandy went sailing.
Oh.
And Bud was just very happy, very peaceful on the water. And by the way, I'll end with this. Susan and I were the ones that Bud and Sandy beat
Yes, I know.
in pickleball in that tournament. They got the silver medal, we got the bronze, and I could make all kinds of excuses for why we lost, but basically they were better than we were, and so they deserved the silver medal. Whether we deserve the bronze or not, I don't know. But anyhow, we certainly will miss Bud very much.
My condolences with Bud. Most of you people don't know me, but I was probably one of the first people around here to know Bud because he lived across the street from me when he retired from Frito-Lay, and we became good friends. It was a little slow at first because he was more quiet, but we played pickleball together, we golfed together, we were in beer tasting together. We had a group of 20 people, went once a month to drink beer. And I enjoyed his company, and I'm not a very handy person, and he's very handy, so he was my handyman for a while while we lived there. But I didn't see Bud much after he met Sandy, and I couldn't play pickleball anymore from some back injuries. But I just wanted to tell you folks that's it. I love the man, and I'm going to miss him a lot. And Sandy, take care of him. Good luck. Thank you.
I just have a couple of quick things to say about Bud, because a lot of the things already been said. He did a lot of traveling around with a lot of groups, but part of that in 2019, your motorhome things came to Minnesota, and they visited us in Minnesota in August, which is a special time. If anyone here from Minnesota, you have a state fair, and so that was a big thing on the item. And we went to the state fair in Minnesota and ate corn on the cob, and everything is on a stick. So we had pork chops on a stick. But it was a memorable time of one of these trips that many people here didn't go on. The other quick thing was, we all saw, unfortunately, how Bud had deteriorated, if you will, over the last 3-4 years. But there was this, near the end here, some real positive, in my mind, remembrances. One was on the 20th, 4 days before he passed away. It was a championship game with Ohio State, and he is an Ohio State guy. And so halftime, I texted him, and I still have it, "Go Buckeyes," right? And he's typed back for sure. So, I mean, I have this. This is almost like one of these recordings that you have, that you keep, but it was just a real neat thing. And then, before that though, we all gathered for New Year's Eve, and Sandy and Bud and Sandy and I hosted this New Year's Eve party, and a lot of people here attended, and Bud was there, and we all had jobs, and Bud was, I mean, he knew what he needed to fill up all the snacks, and he was moving around and filling up snacks, and very, I mean, yeah, he was frail, but his mentally, we were playing cards, you know, we played Wizard, a number of us to him, and he was right on it. I mean, and he had a happy, good time, and it was a really, really something for us to remember. And just in ending though, I will say, to comment on, and everyone here knows, anytime I see a truck backing up into a parking place, that is Bud, and that will always be Bud.
Well, Sue, my wife and I were fortunate to travel with Bud on several trips. And my favorite memory of Bud was in Costa Rica, the day that we did the zip line. There was a picture of it up here earlier. But that was not just any day. Bud was not feeling well. He was coughing a lot, but he was not to be deterred from doing the zip line. And on this particular day, the wind was howling, and I'm not exaggerating, and the rain was pouring down. Nowhere in America would they have run a zip line on a day like that. But this was Costa Rica, and Bud was gonna do the zip line. And a lot of us were intimidated, myself included. And so when I did the zip line, I was very cautious. And twice I got stuck in the middle, and they had to come out and rescue me. But that is not Bud. He was ready for the zip line. He didn't just do the zip line, he bombed the zip line. And the people running the zip line said, Bud, you're coming in too fast. You've got to slow down. And that's who Bud was, and that's how I like to remember him. Thank you.
Are there other memories? All right, so there's a quiz. See how well you know Bud. Okay. Oh, I had this in my mind and I can't remember now. Well, one simple one is, why is his nickname?
The mic?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's not that exciting. Okay, so why is Bud's nickname Budman?
Because he didn't like his first name.
No. Anybody remember his email address? Budman11451. So that became, and you saw lots of Budman license plates and things, so that was him. Oh, okay. What was his favorite dessert?
Oh, jeez.
Creme brulee. He would have creme brulee every day. He would have 2 if he could. Yeah, creme brulee. And this one is kind of, I was gonna say, what is his favorite college football team? But now we'll see how well you were listening.
Yeah.
Ohio State, go Buckeyes. We even had, it's kind of embarrassing to admit, a cheerleader's outfit for Susie so that she could wear her cheerleader's outfit and sit next to him on the sofa while he's watching the game. I don't know how much she liked it, but, so what I'd like to do is close by, you all should have a copy of the Mourner's Cottage. Now, I do want to say, slow it down, okay? There is a transliterated section in the middle, and so if you could rise and say it with me. יתקדל ויקדש שמי ברב. Mama.
Go slowly.
Go slower?
Lead us the mic. Lead with the mic.
I can't do it that well, and I was hoping not to have to use it, because a few words in here I don't say very well.
1, 2, ready.
Okay, are we ready? Okay. Okay, V'yikadal, v'yikadash, shemei haba. Ba'ama, yirfte, yamlik, machote, v'chayon, u'yachon, yehe, kol beit Yisrael, ba'gla u'bizman kariv, amen. Yehe, shemei haba, nevarach, L'olam L'olamaya. Yitbarak, Yishtabak, Yitparar, Yitluman, Yitnaseh, Yithadar, Yitnaseh, Yithalah, Shnei Kedusha, Rihu. Tushbetata, Amen. Yehe Shemei Chayim, Amen, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru Amen. And I want to thank you for saying this, because Kaddish needs to be said with a minyan. And so this is the first time I've said it for Bud. And I am so happy that you were all here for that. Now, one more thing. Okay. Masalema, sweetie. May your memory be a blessing. Thank you all. There is a reception. Lisa will show us, and they are all cookies and brownies, because Bud liked sweets. Okay, thank you. We'll see you in a few minutes.